Hello, everyone. This is Willem. Just wanted to give a little editor's note before the episode started. Just wanted to give an explanation of why the episode was so short today. First off, like I say at the end of the episode, just had a lot to do with and really wanted the second part of this episode to be worthwhile, and also I'm still kind of prepping for it, so there's one reason. But number two, and probably the biggest one, is that Buzzsprout, the site we use to post our podcasts, we were about to go over in hours, and we didn't want to pay for the extra hours, so I took the bullet for this episode and just cut it short for an hour. With that being said, we hope that you will have patience, and we hope that you will enjoy this episode as well as next week's. So thank you, and enjoy. Well, hello, Tim.
Howdy, howdy.
Oh, well, here we are for episode 6. I thought you'd run away now before then. We're almost in 2 digits.
Can't run away, I'm your neighbor.
Oh, that's true. I'm not a witch, I'm your wife.
Yep.
Oh, man.
It's a movie that we'll never have to change.
And I really hope it never changes either. It's such a good one. For those that don't know, Princess Bride, go see it. For some reason, people in Utah, we love it.
It's one of the best movies out there.
It really is super good. Makes me want to read the book. There is a book.
There is a book. I'd rather watch the movie.
Okay.
The book's pretty long.
Have you read it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I had to read it for school.
Oh. Well, hello everyone, and hope you all survived Barbieheimer. I got to enjoy both this weekend. One left me in existential crisis and dread, and the other was about the atomic bomb. And I'm not joking. Gonna do a little warning though for anyone out there who wants to enjoy Oppenheimer. There was a lot more nudity than I ever thought possible in a Christopher Nolan film. Like a lot. Like the whole audience. And again, here in Utah, full audience, the full IMAX theater. We're all sitting there, packed. Scene comes on. The whole theater.
Mm-hmm. I bet.
It was, but it was, both movies were good. I think I need to watch both again to kind of get both of them. If you do enjoy movies, I would say it's good to put in your list. For any of those who don't like nudity out there, maybe they'll come out with a clean version. I don't know. Because that was something. Because it was a lot. Even my friend who I went with, she was like, that was a lot. I'm like, yeah, that was a lot. So, anyway, we're not here to talk about Barbieheimer. We're here to talk about The Amazing Spiderman 2. And, yeah, this will be my pitch. It was just going to start out as a discussion between me and Tim. And I started watching the movie and I went, there's a lot I would change. A lot. I'm just going to quickly say that for my pitch, the first movie, pretty much everything is the same. Nothing changed. Not my favorite Spider-Man movie, but it was passable. It was fine. It was setting up Andrew Garfield, who I absolutely love.
He's a good actor. I do really like Andrew Garfield.
I do love Andrew Garfield. Recently, the past couple things he's been in, he's just very good at just killing it, just killing the performance. I love him. The musical movie he was in, learned how to sing in a year to do it. I forgot what it's called. Tick, Tick, Boom. Love it. For anyone out there that loves musicals, loves Andrew Garfield, I would give that a try. But Tim, you said this was your first time watching this movie. So give me some of your thoughts.
This was the first time I've ever seen... This is the only Spider-Man movie that I hadn't seen until today. I watched it this morning. And personally, I really liked it. I will say there were parts that I didn't like. The whole when Gwen Stacy smacks her head, that kind of like, oh, It kind of shocked me a little bit. Um, but other than that, I liked the movie in general as a whole. I don't know. It was really good way to like bring back the whole, he's grieving, or like, yeah, I guess he's grieving from Gwen's father's death, right? And she keeps seeing him. But I don't know. I don't know. I really liked it. I thought it was a good movie.
I will say that her death was very well done.
It was very well done. It's just when her head actually like smacks the ground, it shocked me. I don't know, because you can hear
even
hit,
still, I think it's twofold. It's not just her head smacking, because in the original comics, it broke her back.
Well, yeah, that too.
And it's just, and I've never thought of it. I still think it was just the thud was supposed to emphasize her back. I didn't realize it was her head.
It's her head hitting the ground.
I'll be honest. I watched about halfway because, shocking to everyone, I'm doing a two-parter because I realized I have to do everything all over because So, my biggest thing about this movie is it really is two movies in one. It was just a lot. And I feel like it was very rushed, especially in the second half. And
I can agree with that. It was rushed.
And they had such potential and setting up so much, and my phone just went off. I need to go silent. Oh no! We'll keep this just for poops and giggles.
Okay.
Poops and giggles. So, yeah, I started this going, oh my gosh, what was Sony planning? What were they thinking? And especially now that we've had the Venom movie, the Carnage movie, which we're definitely going to talk about someday. We have Kraven the Hunter movie coming out soon. It seems that Sony is like, I am finger crossing, people. I am crossing my fingers that they at least release one more movie for either Andrew or Toby. Or both. I don't see why not. We already have another Spider-Man movie that's not connected to Peter. We have multiverse ideas.
And I think one with Toby would be really cool. Especially like now that he's older, like a lot older, right? I think it would be really cool to see how much I think it would be really cool to see his Spider-Man, his Spider-Verse, right? His story 20 years in the future. Right? See what happens between him and MJ. And I don't know, just what villains would they use and all that stuff. I don't know. I think it'd be really fun, really cool.
There's a lot of potential for it, and Sony kept the rights to very few Marvel characters. Actually, if I remember correctly, they just own Spider-Man and his villains, which is a lot. And I want to ask you a random question, Tim. Just a super random nerdy question, just for everyone out there. Between Batman and Spider-Man, if they had to switch their villains, who would do a better job? So,
who would do a better job at what?
Fighting the villain. Like, who would do a better time? Because I'm sorry to say that I don't think Batman would last long with Spider-Man's villains. And people are like, oh, what about? And it's just me, though, because for me, Spider-Man doesn't hold back. I mean, Spider-Man holds back a lot. The thing is, Joker would try to quip and be funny, but Spider-Man would throw it back at him. And if Joker did anything too far, I'm sorry, but Spider-Man's ripping off his jaw. Like,
yeah, I feel like Spider-Man and Batman both have the whole I don't kill thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. The thing about the Joker is he's sadistic and he plays on the weaknesses of his enemies, right? And Spider-Man has more weaknesses than Batman, right? He's younger. He's more inexperienced. He's less experienced. He's a little more naive, I think, and he cares too much. And I feel like Joker would play on that, and then no more Spidey.
I don't know. I have to.
Because that's the thing. Batman cares, but at the same time, he's willing to let people die if it means bringing the villain to justice. Spidey's not. I don't know. That's my personal.
We'll have to sit down
take.
And have a deeper discussion. But for anyone out there, that's just a question I love because I love both villains. I mean, no, I love both villains. I love both heroes so much. They're two of my favorites. Yeah, but I've always thought about that because for me, a Spider-Man who isn't laughing anymore and talking, that's the Spider-Man to be scared of. And I think that's the type of Spider-Man Joker would get. So, but
I feel like that's the kind of Spider-Man that I guess it depends on which Spider-Man.
That's true.
Tom Holland's Spider-Man?
No, sorry.
He would die.
Andrew or Tobey's, I think, would do a pretty good job.
I think Tobey's would. Andrew would struggle. I think Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man also cares too much. But Tobey's, he had the Venom symbiote, right? He knows what it's like to not care. And I think he would be able to tap into that apathy to make ends meet if it meant taking out the Joker.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
No, I get it.
I just think Tobey's Spider-Man is really probably the only one.
There's a few comic versions of Spider-Man I'd have to show. Anyway, we'll go off on hours about this, but it's one of my...
Spider-Man 2099.
Oh, no, he wouldn't hesitate. Joker would be like, oh, welcome, Spider-Man, and just dead.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That was a terrible Joker, and I apologize for everyone listening. That was awful. Well, that being said, let's get into my take. And I will say that I really enjoyed the beginning of us seeing Richard and Mary's runaway and death. But I would change quite a few things with it. And really, we wouldn't see what happens in the inside of the ship. Not the ship, the plane.
Really?
So what would happen is, we see Richard recording. We'd start off with Richard recording his final message. And we kind of are having flashes of him, of what he's done. We see him killing all the spiders, And we see him leaving Oscorp, like we did in the movie. And if I can find my notes, he's leaving Oscorp. They kind of showed, I felt like it was a perfect time to show a camera kind of zooming in, and we see a figure kind of watching him on a monitor. We see him rushing home on the phone, and the person he's on the phone with is Carl. And he wants Carl to get him, his wife. They've been compromised. Everything he's working for, they're after them. It's done. They need to leave now. Questions on the phone, and Richard replies, no, leave him. It's for his protection. Here's some more conversation. No, we're leaving Peter. This is for both of their protection. And that's all you're getting from that.
Okay.
So we're going to see them, saying goodbye to Peter. Going to see, the vehicle pop up. We see kind of Carl and Richard hug it out. And they're like, it's time. We got to go. They go. Shows them getting on a plane. The wives are in hysterics. Shows the plane fly off. We kind of get the scene of Richard, tapping away and sending everything away. And the swell of music's coming. It shows that the, message is complete. And the camera kind of zooms away and we see the plane just blow up and go. We do not know what's going on.
Okay. So there's mystery and intrigue.
There is mystery and intrigue because I'm not going to tell you Carl's last name, not yet. But Carl and Richard Parker never mind. It's just, again, I know a lot about Spider-Man, and I really thought that's what they were setting up to. So, with that big explosion, we see the logo for Amazing Spider-Man 2, and we have like kind of a webbing surrounding it, and a single thread goes down, and we slowly get a transition to a spider on a web in Oscorp Industries. And we actually see the one and only Chris Cooper as Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn is dying. Okay, that is a thing, but he has been... Oscorp for the past couple decades has turned into his project of trying to heal. Because Oscorp, in other renditions of comic books, movies, whatever, has been leading in neuroscience, studying about how the brain, connectivity, trying to solve neurodiseases. We saw this with the lizard in the last movie, all that fun stuff. So they're at a board meeting, and for those of you who watched the last movie, we see the gentleman. I am saying that the gentleman is Adrian Toomes. For those of you who don't know who Adrian Toomes is, he is the man who becomes the Vulture.
Oh, okay.
So in this board meeting, we are going to have Adrian Toomes sitting there, kind of his right-hand man. We have Dr. Otto Octavius, and I was thinking of a few other scientists, but we are going to have this board meeting, and, Norman Osborn is sitting there like, gentlemen, Oscorp has hired all of you, the best minds in the world, for many, many years. The best minds coming together to solve so many diseases. And he's like talking about the works. He says, Dr. Otto Octavius with your prosthetics, Dr. Adrian Toomes with your near flight research, like all these things that we're kind of getting hints of what these guys are going to become someday. And then we kind of see, him shatter a glass in his hand. He's all nervous, but why the hell can I not be healed? We kind of see the goblin come out. And that's kind of the hint here, is that Norman Osborn on the side is known as the Goblin. And his hand starts shaking uncontrollably, and he's wearing a glove. And we see the glove kind of tear through because the claws are coming out and the skin's coming. Okay. And Adrian Toomes walks up and says, sir, take this. And it's an injection, and it kind of, we see the scales that were forming kind of go away. Because in one version, the Green Goblin curse actually is forming scales. And he's a freak. He's a circus freak. In the Noir Spider-Man, from the movies, that version of Norman Osborn is a circus freak, and he wears a mask, like a fake mask that the chameleon made for him to cover up his deformity. But he is grotesque, scary, and a goblin. And on the side, Norman Osborn is known as the Green Goblin, kind of how Harvey was called Two-Face in The Dark Knight. People in the underworld and people in the Oscorp background of the higher-ups call him the Goblin, because, who doesn't like to make fun of their higher-ups when he can? So Oscorp does do shady stuff every now and then. So he's asking all these gentlemen, why can't this be happening? Why can't I be healed? Blah, blah, blah. And then there's a knock on the door, and we see Felicity Hardy. Oh, I hope I said her name right. Felicity Jones.
The actress?
No.
Or the person?
So Felicity Jones is from, and she plays Felicia Hardy? I don't know. Black Cat. Crap, I can't remember her name because it made me laugh that her name is in real life Felicity Jones from Rogue One.
I think it's Felicia.
Everyone in the listening is like, you don't remember her name? No, because like I said, I get nervous whenever I start talking to you guys. Oh my gosh.
It's Felicia Hardy.
Felicia Hardy, yes. Felicia Hardy. Felicia Hardy, kind of leans her head in and goes, Mr. Osborn, your son is here to see you. And Harry comes in after her, and all of a sudden Norman Osborn, the prodigal son, returns. Harry, how was your study abroad? And Harry's been gone. And we kind of have somewhat of a good connection, but it's still going to be that kind of harsh father and son connection. I want to make that clear now. But, we're seeing Norman Osborn, we're seeing Harry, and yeah. And he's kind of gloating about his son. He's like, this boy is going to be a genius, and I hope, and kind of places the shaking hand on his shoulder, that my son can bring this company to places that I cannot someday. And he's like, don't talk like that, Dad. We'll cure you. And Norman kind of shows, I sure hope we can cure me, because, and then all of a sudden they get a radio call before he can do the big reveal that it's genetic. They get a call and say, Mr. Osborn, a shipment of plutonium is being robbed. And then we cut away to the high-speed chase.
Okay.
With Alexi, who is the Rhino.
The Rhino, yeah.
Which I will say right now that he will be a bigger part in this than it was here. And the suit will be very different. But Alexi, let me get his full name for everyone. I can't say that, it's Russian. I'll just say Alexi. Just want to give another little editor's note. Alexei Sisevich. Wasn't good at saying it, but there you go. So Alexei is leading off. He's got the big old truck. Very similar scene, except, he's driving, gets a knock on the window, and Spider-Man rolls it up, and he's like, Alexei, this is a little more bold than normal. And this is a common petty criminal that Spider-Man is seeing. And, Alexei looks at him, you'll not catch me this time, Spider. And he's just, that was terrible Russian. I am so sorry. But Alexei's like, you're not going to catch me. And he's like, oh, I think I am. And, full on is, Alexei pulls the gun out. Spider-Man, oh boy. And I will say that there was a lot of wreckage during Spider-Man's fights and Spider-Man's chases. And I was like, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked it. But it kind of freaked me out that he didn't jump to save more people, because there was a few cars totally flipping over. And I'm like, Spidey, that was a pedestrian. I don't know. It was just a thought of mine. I was like, dang. Anyway, so the chase goes by very similarly. Stops him. Gwen calls him in the middle of the chase, and she's like, where are you? It just started. He's like, I'm on my way, don't worry. Are those sirens? And he's like, no, it's fine, don't worry. And it shows her about to give her valedictorian speech. Spider-Man stops Alexei. Very similar way. I really liked how he did that. Just the do, putting your hands up against the wall. Gun is gonna hit you in the head. I loved it. I was like, So Peter shows up. Split second after they call his name. Yada yada yada. Just like in the movie. See them kiss, and we cut away to them talking after graduation. They're kind of off in a corner, because I'm not going to have them break up. Just going to get that out of the way. I was not a big fan of the breakup. I wanted to see more tension. And right now we're seeing Gwen kind of reel into Peter. She's like, you're late. You missed my speech. You couldn't let me know. He's like, I didn't want you to worry. He's like, yeah, but you still missed this speech. It was important to me. And he's like, did you not see that? She's like, no, I did see it. I never see these things, Peter. I always miss it. And he's like, I'm glad you saved people, but sometimes I wish you were there for me. And he's like,
you'd save time for me.
Yeah,
something like that.
That's one of the biggest things. And I wasn't originally happy and stoked that Gwen knew already, but you know what? I think it's just easier on us. I don't know what makes it easier. I can't imagine having that big responsibility while trying to date someone. I can't. It's very hard to try to put into words. But I really want to have this kind of tension of back and forth. And Peter's like, okay, you know what? Let me make up to it. Let's have dinner. Let's have dinner to celebrate this weekend. And she looks at him. Peter, you know you can't afford that. Okay, you take me out to dinner. And she's like, okay, fine, that works, because there's something I need to talk to you about. I have some news. And he's like, oh, great, good. Good. And then May's walking up. Hi, oh my gosh, look at you two. You're so cute. Hi. And Peter and Gwen, they're doing all awkward taking the picture. And Aunt May is like, oh, Peter, Ben would be so proud of you. And I love the Ralph Waldo Emerson thing. Says the crow, says the quote. And he's like, you mean the quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson? She's like, no, your Uncle Ben said that. No, he didn't. I really love that. Gwen goes off to see her family. May goes with Peter. And they're talking. And he's like, May, I have a problem. She's like, what? I need a suit. And she just laughs at him. No, you don't need a suit. And it shows, kind of cut away to Peter getting ready for the dinner. Mm-hmm. Pretty excited. He's, fine. He's like, I'm making time, doing great. Kind of listening to the radio scanner. He's like, nothing going on. I'm going to be able to go to dinner with my girlfriend. And May's like, all right, I'll get the car ready. He's like, May, I can drive. And she's like, you don't have a license. Oh, yeah. Because it's New York. A lot of New Yorkers don't have it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But then all of a sudden he's getting ready, coming down the stairs, and May goes, Peter, look who's here. And it's Harry. I did not like that it was like 10 years since they've been gone.
No, it should have been shorter. Like a couple years. A few years, yeah, but not 10 or 8 or whatever it was. That was...
Yeah, it was kind of ridiculous. I mean, there are some... I still have some friendships from kids who... I say kids, we are full adults now, but from when I lived in Rose Park and moved when I was 10, I knew these people for 5+ years in that young age from when we were 4 to 10. And yet I could probably call most of them now and we could still probably do something. I know one of them, I need to do that. I need to hang out with him. Anyway, we're not here to talk about my friends. We're here to talk about Peter and Harry. Mm-hmm. But Peter sees Harry and he goes, when did you get back? What? Oh, you don't call. You stop and and he's like completely like kind of upset for a little bit. And Harry goes, hi, and bro hug, excited. Harry was Peter's support. Mm-hmm. Peter lost his family. Harry lost his mother at a young age, and they kind of reminisce about this. Kind
of the same Peter and Harry that we see in Tobey Maguire's.
Yes, that is what they're supposed to be. So
I agree.
In this version, it's only been 5 years. Harry left for the end of junior high school, went to some private school. Peter's asking him questions like, oh, I saw you at all the press stores. And he's like, I understand that you couldn't, talk to me. I understand that you couldn't save time for little Peter. And he goes, I know sometimes with all this responsibility and the stuff, it's hard to make time for people. And Peter kind of hits him because he's like, oh, I'm saying the same thing to Gwen is saying the same thing to me as I'm saying to Harry right now. Like, oh man. But Peter kind of gets kind of solemn. He's like, after you left, it was hard. And he goes, I know. And he's like, and I can't understand. He's like, I know. And he's like, I really struggled in high school and I lost my Uncle Ben. And you see May and Harry leans over and holds both their hands each. And he goes, I am so sorry for your loss. I loved Ben so much. He was a good man. And he gave me wonderful advice for baseball, like stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Just I wanted a better connection than this stuck up rich brat. Like he's still, I don't know.
I have the same opinion about Harry Osborn as I did about Ben Solo. I don't like the angsty teen garbage.
That's what we were big into in the 2010s, yeah. Okay?
Like, I don't know. I don't like it.
You know what's weird, though, is that this movie came out a year before The Force Awakens, correct? Because 2014, 2015, right?
Was it?
Yeah. I'll edit this part, don't worry. But yeah.
Yeah, a year before.
Yeah, which is crazy to me that's been... Anyway, it's just crazy to think that kind of was the time period, and that's kind of how we saw angsty people. And I look back now and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
it's kind of when you see pictures of clothes you were wearing back when you were a kid and you're like, I wore that. And your mom's like, I told you. Yeah. Thank you, Mom, for the fashion advice. And sorry for not listening sometimes. I regret it a lot.
I just want to point out that most of my clothes were bought by my mom or my grandma.
So you're good.
If I looked like a dweeb, it's because that's how they dressed me.
You a dweeb.
I'm aware.
Okay. So while he's and he talks about Uncle Ben, he goes, but I'm grateful because I met Gwen, and all of a sudden a little bell rings off in Peter's head and he's like, Gwen. And Harry's like, what? He's like, I have a date with my girlfriend tonight. And Harry's like, you have a girlfriend? Peter Parker has a girlfriend? And he's like, yeah, and I'm late for dinner. And Harry's like, I'll drive. And he's like, you have a driver's license? Oh, sorry, no, I won't drive. My driver will drive. And he goes, oh. And he goes, oh. And he's like, do that teasing each other, like, oh.
Kind of how they do here.
Yeah, exactly.
In this movie.
Like, is your hair still blown? Like that exact energy, just the... Oh, no, sorry, I'm not driving. My driver is. Your driver? Yeah, he's waiting outside. Oh. And and then it shows Gwen just sitting there all impatient and gets it, like, all of a sudden, she's, like, waiting at the bottom of her apartments, and she sees a fancy car pull up. She's like, oh, I wonder who that's for. Peter walks out, and she gets all excited, sees him, runs outside. Ooh, and how did you... And she's like, Peter, how can you afford this? And Harry walks in. Hi, I'm Harry Osborn, Peter's best... friend of Peter, and Gwen is like, Mr. Osborn, like, this is the son of the owner of the company she's been like working with and studying under, and so this is a lot. And she goes, you know Peter, you why didn't you ever mention this? And Peter's like, it never crossed my mind.
It never came up.
It never came up. Like, why would it? She's like, we've been to the Oscorp building so many times. Yeah, Harry doesn't own that building. So, anyway.
I like it.
So, and Harry goes, I know this kind of sounds unprecedented, but let me take you both to dinner. So no one has to worry about paying. My treat. I want to catch up with my friend. Are you okay with that, Miss Stacy? And Gwen's like, sure. Oh, it'll be so exciting. Hang out with my boss's son. Oh, I like just the sass Emma Stone would give. And you're like, yes. Love you, Emma Stone. You're my favorite.
Like I was coming from a little bit more than just...
I had the biggest crush on Emma Stone. Easy A is one of my favorite movies. Oh, everyone go watch Easy A. You'll love Emma Stone even more. So, cuts to Alexei in a chair. The Rhino. He's in a chair in like a little random warehouse. So, he's tied up in a random place, and we see Mr. Toombs come in out of the shadows with his hat on, and he goes, Mr. Alexei, did you really think you could just steal from Oscorp? And he goes, what is this? Oh my gosh, I will not try to do it. I used to be able to do a good Russian accent, but again, it's hard to do this while I'm, Alexei's so confused. He's like, where is this? I was en route to, Ravencroft, penitentiary. And I had a detour, and he goes, oh, Mr. Osborn pulled a few strings, and Mr. Osborn comes in, and he's kind of let the medicine, he doesn't take the medicine as much when he's not in public. And we kind of see, and I want everyone to understand that I absolutely love Chris Cooper. He's the dad from October Skies. Love his gruffness. And I was so disappointed that we didn't see him play Osborn for longer.
We saw all of 30 seconds.
Yeah, and it's just, I was like, this could be a good Norman Osborn if you would have given him the chance, because he has that disappointing father tone, and he could be sinister if he wanted. So I want to kind of have Mr. Osborn kind of following, like walking around in the shadows, like, so Mr. Alexei, who tipped you off to this information about our, plutonium drop-off? And he's like, I don't know, she didn't tell me her name. And he goes, she? Oh, that's good to know. Well, Mr. Alexei, I have a proposition for you. See, I need some supplies, and I think you are just the man to get it for me. And he goes, I cannot, spider always stops me. And he goes, don't worry about the Spider-Man. We will help you and give you the necessary tools. I notice how you like to plow through with that giant truck of yours. How would you like to be unstoppable like that truck? How would you like to be an actual rhino like everyone always calls you in the penitentiaries? And he goes, is possible? He's like, of course it's possible. Look who you're talking to. And he goes, the goblin. And that dark green hand just comes out of the shadow and grabs him. And he comes in close and he is covered in the scales. His ears are pointed up. Do not call me that. And he backs off and he throws him back in the chair.
I like it.
Okay. And I will say, Mr. Osborn is still dying. This is still a disease. It is still killing him. You know, imagine him walking around with a cane at this point. Like he's just like we saw in the movie. But there's just those little bursts of, adrenaline spikes, but I just want the goblin to show. He throws him back. Mr. Toon takes over. He's like, me and Mr. Octavius have been working on a prototype for some body armor, and we think you are just the man to give it a test run. And so happens we have it here, and just this big storage container is like a light is shown in a storage container, and we see this armor. And for anyone who's played the Amazing Spider-Man video games, I really liked the techno side of it, and I want it to be something that would latch onto him. So that's kind of what we're going through. That's kind of what I wanted when I first saw this movie. I played that game, and I was like, that is the perfect rhino armor. Because it stuck to him, but it doesn't look just like a rhino skin. And it didn't play too much because they did have a storyline in a different Spider-Man video game that the rhino was actually a test subject of rhino with spliced with human DNA, and it was some weird thing, and I was like, I don't like that. I like the idea of it being Alexei. He's got the armor, and he goes, so Mr. Alexei, do we have a deal? And Norman reaches the goblin hand forward, and Alexei says, let's do this, and reaches it, and he's like, you will not be a petty criminal after this anymore, Mr. I don't want to try it. Sitesvin? I don't know.
I have no idea.
It's Russian's hard. Russian names are hard. Shakes his hand. We get a kind of like an Iron Man suit up moment, but it's going to be ugly. Like, it is going into him. And I don't know if anyone's here who's played like StarCraft or seen the Warhammer, how those armors get put on. Just the gruesome bolts are going into his skin. It is fusing. It is controlling, and he is screaming. And I really like the idea of Paul Giamatti being it, but I'd probably take away some of his tattoos.
I can agree.
But I think Paul Giamatti could give a powerful... he's got good range as an actor, and I feel like he could give us a very stern performance. Cuts back to Harry, Peter, and Gwen kind of enjoying dinner. They're talking, and they're all enjoying dinner. They're laughing, and it shows with Gwen Peter really did that in junior high? And you're like, yeah, he did. We couldn't get the toilets unclogged for months after that. They're just dying, reminiscing about telling stories. Super cute, all that fun stuff. And so Harry kind of stopped and says, so Miss Stacy, do you need me to put in a good word to help you get up higher up? Because you, ma'am, are a genius. I don't know why you're with this idiot, but you are awesome, and I love your stories. Just that banter. And Gwen kind of gets all quiet, and she goes, actually, I've been meaning to talk about it because I got a call from Oxford. And looks up at Peter. And she's like, surprise, this is kind of why I wanted to do a private dinner. And Peter's like, and just frozen. He goes, Oxford? You mean England? No. The one in Utah. No, of course England. and he's just like, really? England? You're going to go to England? And like, Gwen's kind of like, yeah, I'm really thinking about it. And then the spider sense kicks in. And we hear commotion, screaming, and we see police sirens go. And they see in the news that something's going on about an Osborn facility, and Harry's like, I should probably go and check on my dad, see if he's okay, because it was a Osborn storage facility that they were in. And Harry's like getting calls and getting messages, and security details like, where are you, Mr. Osborn, blah, blah, blah. And his driver's like, we got to go, Mr. Osborn. And he goes, I need to go, but thank you so much for it, and I'm gonna leave you two to this. And Harry leaves. Peter and Gwen are stuck there staring at each other, and Gwen's like, go, it's fine, we'll talk about it later. And we cut and we see the Rhino going in full swing, just barreling through, just kind of, the suit's on, and he's having a suit of rage, and he wants to test it out. And we see him barreling through. And at this point, we see Max with his blueprints.
Okay.
Walking down the street. We see Max now, walking down the street. And I will say that Jamie Foxx, I loved him as Electro. Absolutely loved it. It was great.
He's a good Electro.
He is a good Electro. I don't know. I think the change they did in No Way Home was a lot of fun, but I really had a soft spot for this version of Max. But yeah, I really like that. He's walking down the street, and we see the Rhino running through, and Max's papers are knocked out. He's still just a nobody, and Rhino's coming in. Get out of the way! And all of a sudden, Max gets swooped up. We get the same speech from this movie. He's like, you're Mr. Spider-Man. He's like, oh, and you're Max. He goes, great job. Look at these blueprints. These are amazing. Hey, you're my eyes and ears out here, man. You got to get going. And you just see the Rhino. He's like, now, excuse me. I need to go off on safari. And, like, whips off. And Max is like, he knew my name. Like, just that same, I really love that.
The ignorance that Jamie Foxx is able to portray here, it's great.
It's so sweet. I really liked Max as a whole. Like, I really liked his character. And Spider-Man just whips up. He's on Rhino's back, and he goes, you're a long way from Africa. What are you doing out here? And he, like, sees the skin. He goes, oh, there's a man in there. Like, just kind of lame jokes like that. And he goes, you'll not catch me this time, Spider. And he goes, Alexi, what happened to you? He's like, I'll tell you. And he, like, grabs him. Like, he's fast now. Grabs Spider-Man before he can wreck and flings him. And he's still just running. Because he needs a base of operation now. He can't just start stealing. And also, he just kind of got really excited. And Spider-Man is just absolutely shocked. Like, oh, what is going on here? And so Rhino there's just gonna be a big chase scene. Spider-Man and Rhino are gonna kind of just, it's a lot of running, a lot of fighting, and I'm gonna kind of make that Spider-Man's pretty distracted. I was kind of thinking he's really distracted with the whole Oxford thing, and he's just not in the right mindset. And Rhino gets away. I know it's kind of hard to believe.
Well, I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense, but for now, a lot of quips. It's a really fast interaction. Like, flings them across, and I was kind of really thinking that Peter's just shocked. Like, what is going on? And Alexi gets away. Goes into hiding, and we'll see more of him later. So we're gonna cut to Max. Like, this is gonna be a pretty fast interactions. Because we see not Gwen, sorry. Max is going to Oscorp,
Mm-hmm.
just as normal, and he's all pretty excited and he's pretty happy. Spider-Man knew who he was, and he goes, "Today's a great day." And it shows that he's holding the happy birthday card. Today is his birthday. It's kind of, I know it's kind of sounding kind of fast paced, but oh well. And we see Max kind of gets in, and someone's like yells, "Happy birthday, man." He goes, "Oh my gosh." Like, he turns all excited, and it's someone else's birthday. Like, just kind of those things as he walks into Oscorp, and we're seeing that Max is a nobody. I love the interaction of him and that douchebag boss of his. I really liked how it showed his anger, because he goes, if you made up those, because I like how Max pointed out, like, those ideas that you all use up in those higher up places, those were my designs. And he goes, "Oh, if you made those designs, I'm Spider-Man." And we see the freak out. Like, I really like that. I like the anger, and I want to do maybe a few more interactions, but we see him go and go up, and he gets called to go work on something. Oh, I remembered what I wanted. Oh yeah, there it is. Spider-Man and Alexia are still kind of running around, and and Max gets called to work on, the part of the building has all the electric eels running around, swimming around, not running. They're running. They have feet.
Yes. Oh, that's a cursed image right there.
Put it in your next D&D.
Oh, we're playing on Friday.
I don't want to fight electric eel with feet. And they just have feet. They don't have arms, just feet. Just feet.
Just feet, not even legs.
Not even a tail. It's just electric eel with it's a reverse merman.
Uh-huh.
It's an eel man with feet. And anyway, wow, we are really getting off topic here. The fight between Rhino and Spider-Man is what causes Max to fall in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So while they're running through the city, they're bursting through Oscorp facilities, and what's happening is Mr. Osborn is hitting Osborn facilities. He's hitting his own facilities, but he doesn't want it to look like he doesn't want things to get traced back to him. So they're stealing supplies from Oscorp to work on a secret project, to work on supplies to help try to find a cure.
Okay.
So that's kind of what's going on. So we see Rhino bust through the place where Max is, working, and that causes Max to fall in and doing the same, happy birthday, blah, blah, like all that fun stuff. Falls into the vat and becomes Electro. And I want it to be very spontaneous, because I think that, and I don't want even Oscorp to realize that Max is missing. Like, I don't want them to realize that this happened.
Okay.
Because
he really is a nobody.
There's no sitting there. They're not trying to frame Harry. It's just he's a nobody. They're like, did anything happen? Like, anyway, that's not important. But Max will like squirm out of the wreckage, and he will like be glowing already. Like, it's already showing.
Mm-hmm.
And he like screams, and the power surges out, and it cuts to Spider-Man trying to bring Rhino down, and he's in the middle of Rhino's in the middle of the facility now. The power goes out, and he goes, "Alexi, come on, we can help you. You can still walk away from whatever you're doing." And he goes, "There's no going back. This armor will never come off." In a hand, he gets the spider sense, and he dodges Rhino's hand, and he tries to punch Rhino. Like, he gives it like a hard-earned punch, nothing. And he goes, and he grabs Spider-Man's hand. He goes, "How does it feel to be small again?" And flings him just across the room. Like, from petty criminal to one of Spider-Man's scariest villains. And I know a lot of people are like, "So Rhino isn't that scary." Rhino is pretty scary.
Imagine
Juggernaut, Rhino, and Hulk, you send those three to fight, it's gonna be messy for everyone.
Like just imagine right now a dude, in a rhino suit just tromping down the street.
He's about 10 feet. 9 to 10 feet. He's huge.
Able to throw your car, able to just run straight through a building. Like that is terrifying. I don't think he doesn't look as scary as some of the other villains, I think. But just the fact that he is so big makes him scary.
Mm-hmm. And I will say that when the ejections were in, it literally, like, we could see his muscles change because they work on a lot of bioweapons. This is kind of the stuff that Norman has been trying to go. This was a failed experiment, their own super soldier exosuit.
In a very similar way to, like, Bane.
Yes. But then also he still is covered by a metal suit. But we could see that there was a slight change to his physiology, and he just looks huge.
Okay.
Like, Spider-Man is standing there at one point, he turns around and Rhino will just be towering over him. And he goes, oh! And just... So, with that final knockout, he's flung out of the building and he is hurt. Spider-Man is kind of hurt. And that's when Alexei gets away. He goes, farewell, Spider. And we see him grabbing supplies. Mm-hmm. Another vial of whatever. I haven't really...
Something.
It's something or other. We don't really know, because that was something I wanted to have shown in part 2. But anyway...
So maybe it could be like a lead-lined box.
Yeah, a lead-lined box. Something insane. I'm doing pretty good right now. Doing pretty good. Making great time. We're almost to the cutoff point, ladies and gentlemen. So, hustle in your bustles. And cuts to Peter. And Peter shows him kind of rummaging through his... window, and he falls into his bed, and we hear May just coming up the stairs. Peter, is that you? He's like, oh, hold on a second, and like the door locks, all that stuff, and he's like trying to cover. I loved that scene with why's your face all dirty? I was cleaning the chimney. We don't have a chimney. What? Love it. So that kind of thing, I really love that. So we're gonna have that kind of interaction. And he was able to get the suit off, but May sees that he is beat up. Like, you can't hide this. And May goes, Peter, what happened? What happened? I heard about the explosion near where you were eating. Is everything okay? Is Gwen okay? Are you... What happened? Why are you... And he is bruised, and he's like, it's nothing. Did you get mugged? Peter, you need to tell me this. I am your aunt. And he goes... It's fine. And she's like, Peter, Ben is gone. Your parents are gone. You are my boy. Tell me, what is going on? And Peter's like tearing up. Nothing is wrong, May. I'm fine. I'll deal with this. I'll be fine. I'll be better tomorrow. I slipped and I fell. Okay? And May's like, fine. You don't want to tell me? Fine. But sometimes, Peter, secrets will hurt you and those around you. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. Now get some rest. You look like you need it. And there's a sandwich downstairs. And she's like crying and like slams the door. Mm-hmm. Peter's like, oh, like the guilt, the guilt after you yelled at your parents,
Yeah. We've all felt it.
Oh, that just hurt myself saying that. I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. So much.
I gotta say the same.
Oh.
I love my parents. I've never met your parents.
No, okay.
But,
Tim loves my parents. I'm sure you'd like them. They're both really cool. If you like me, you'll like my parents.
Good.
So we have Peter kind of neglected and kind of whatever, and right at that moment, he gets a call from Gwen, and we just gotta run with the movie tropes. The crap is piling on Peter. sees it's from Gwen. He's like, oh, he's like, I just want to lay down, you know? And she's like, can we talk? And he goes, now. And he's like, can you come here? She's like, why? I'm a little sore. And, and this next part is something that I really always wanted. I want the door to knock. We hear the door. Oh my gosh, knock at the door.
Mm-hmm.
The door opens and we're with Gwen. She knocks on the door, opens the door, and it's Aunt May. And she's like, oh, hi, Gwen, how are you? And he goes, good, I'm here to talk to Peter. And she goes, are you okay? Did something happen to him? She's like, please, can you tell? Like, she's like, and she kind of like pulls her in. She's like, he passed out. But some time between his guardian and his girlfriend, what is going on? And she's like, I don't know. Honestly, it's hard to explain, and I don't think it's my place. It's for Peter. She goes, please, Gwen, I know you love this boy. And I know you would never leave him. And all of a sudden we see Gwen's face like, oh. She's like, I know he's not perfect, and I know he doesn't deserve you. And Gwen, oh. And, because Peter hasn't told her. And Aunt May is just kind of like, what's wrong? Just the Aunt May intuition comes in. And Gwen's like, I got a call to Oxford. And I'm trying to get in. I have a few oral exams between me and one other boy. And I'm terrified. And Aunt May's like, oh, honey. And like hugs her. And she's like, I'm so proud of you. And if this is what you want, Peter will be okay. I promise. He will be okay. And she goes, and Gwen's like crying. He's like, I sure hope he can. And they both like kind of have this moment of crying like together. They're crying over this boy who they both love. I wanted this scene to be around.
I mean, yeah, I agree, because I think in movies that's something that's really important, to show kind of a parity between obviously a parental figure and a lover. Right, because obviously I don't love my parents the same way I love my wife, and vice versa.
Just kidding. Sorry, well, that what I mean.
Be a little uncomfortable on all accounts, but at the same time, there is still an incredible amount of love that a guardian has for a child, and that the child has for the guardian. And likewise, there's an incredible amount of love between partners. Right, between spouse. And I think seeing Gwen and May expressing how much they care about Peter to each other is important.
It really is. Your parents could sit down with your wife and they could talk for days about you, because that's something they have in common.
Most of it would be making fun of me and poking fun at how many times I've broken and stuff like that.
You're right, but it's all out of love. You're a connecting factor between these essential strangers. It's just the love. And I want to really show how much Gwen loves Peter and how much Aunt May loves Peter. That, Gwen lost her father and May has been another parental figure in her life. Like, it's important that we see this connection. Like, they do talk, so shows them crying together and hugging. I really wanted this scene to happen. And not Gwen and Peter, we see Peter come down the stairs and both women are kind of going there, and he goes, I'm so sorry, I passed out. And he looks a little better.
Like, he's cleaned up. Yeah.
But we still see he's kind of bruised. And Gwen's like, what? Like, rushes. And Aunt May, see? I told you. Mm-hmm. And, I don't want there to be intervention, but I want it to kind of feel like an intervention from Aunt May. She's like, Peter, what? And I don't want everyone to think I'm going to have Peter reveal his secret, but this is going to be close. Because let's be honest, if a young teenage boy in New York City who lives with just his aunt is parading as New York's best superhero who is going out and stopping crime, how is she going to not notice things? But this instance of the rhino is one of the first times he is hurt. The lizard was another time.
Yeah, but at the same time, with the lizard, I feel like, I don't know. With the lizard, I feel like that fight there was a lot more ways that he could cover up those injuries.
Yeah. And also, I don't think the lizard is not as strong as Rhino. I want everyone to emphasize that Rhino can go pretty much toe to toe with Spider-Man. Spider-Man has to put in, and Rhino's not going to hold back when punching Spider-Man. Spider-Man doesn't want to kill people, but also he's not as big. So I will want to say that if a good solid hit from Rhino, you get hit by Rhino, it's going to fling you across the room. That's just how physics work. The math is going to be mathin'. It's going to hurt. Anyway, so I don't want it to be intervention, but it's kind of just an intervention of May going, I don't know what's going on. I trust you two, and I understand that you two need to talk. I love you both. Don't hurt her. And then she looks at Gwen, be gentle to him. And just leave, just kind of leaves the room. Let them have that. She's like, I need to go to work or whatever. Gwen and Peter are going to have a nice talk. Or we're going to attempt. Because as we have them kind of walking around outside talking about their future, Gwen's getting nervous. She's like, I really need your support in this. This is something I really want. And Peter's like, I understand. Okay. I can do this. We see the lights flickering. And then we see Max in the middle of Times Square walking around. He had gotten clothes from very similar to before. He had gotten clothes and he's stumbling around.
Because obviously, his clothes are fried.
Yeah.
So he's got to get something new.
But we're kind of seeing his perspective now. And we see him just slowly stumbling towards Times Square. Because we see him following all the electrical units. We see all the cars freaking out. And we see Peter and we see him start absorbing the power. And then Times Square starts flickering. Peter sees it, gets called to it. And that's where I'm going to end part 1.
Okay. You pulled a me.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's where I'm gonna pause it, but I feel like that's a good place to pause because the second half for me is a lot of action. I'm still kind of working on it, but this first part I wanted to build a connection between. I wanted to have Norman in the background, Alexi as the Rhino, and I wanted the big middle fight or like the big halfway mark to be the fight with Electro. I want to show how much responsibility stacks on Spider-Man. I want to see how much pain Oscorp causes. Because really, most of the villains in Spider-Man's universe are caused from Norman Osborn. They're caused from Oscorp. And I really want that to be shown. But I want to set it up in a way that it's paced properly so that we get something more meaningful in the end. So yeah, but yeah, that's my part. That's my part 1. Nothing too crazy, and
I like it.
I hope so.
It's a shorter episode, but
it is a shorter episode. I'm sorry, everyone, but part 2 will probably be a little more crazy and stuff. And I will. Should I spoil something for? No, I'm gonna surprise y'all next week. But I will say that this movie is, Sorry, the original Spider-Man 2 movie, I have seen it as always being two movies. And right now we're only cutting through a quarter of it if you're looking at it as two separate movies. So if you want to take that information with you, it might spoil how I see certain characters. So, yeah. But yeah, any questions, any tips, any comments, anything that you were like, oh, here's kind of something I see differently or something I would have done differently?
No, I like it. I think.
You think? Just kidding.
I don't know. I think it's good. I really do. I think this is a good. It's a good revision to an already decent story, and I agree. It felt a little. This one felt a little rushed, and I think it needed to be two movies. And or even, I mean, just sticking to the one villain for this movie, right? And then a third movie could focus entirely on something completely unrelated. I don't know, but I am with you. This movie needed to be separated.
And I do know that I'm setting up kind of a lot of villains, but I'm only really setting up two for Spider-Man to really fight and kind of a main one to run around in the background. But it's not going to be like he's, I don't know. I've been working on it. I hope that my pacing of this movie's kind of work. I know Electro feels kind of forced and distant, but really that's how some of the Spider-Man villains were formed. If you watch some of the cartoons, they were just random dudes doing a job, and all of a sudden, bam, they get affected because of either Spider-Man or just a freak accident. And it's kind of what I'm showing here. Because of Norman Osborn, because of Alexei, there was an accident, and Max fell, and he became Electro. And this man, yeah, we'll see more. I really like the idea of Max was a nobody, but now he'll become a somebody. I really like that. So, but yeah, part 2 will be really good. I'm excited. But other than that, yeah, it's a kind of a shorter episode, but it was really where I felt needed a good pause. So,
it's good. I like it.
Okay. Well, thank you all for listening, everyone. We'll see you next week for part 2, and we will see you later, Pidges.